You've seen my blood results.
Yeah.
So what things might improve my energy from the blood results that you saw?
What are you, mid-30s, early 30s?
I'm 33.
33. All right. You're lean, you're active. The first thing that jumps out on your report.
Yeah, can we skip that page,
skip the page. You're going to see quickly the difference between medicine and performance.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. This is medical. So we're looking at cholesterol and cholesterol-related markers. You've got, I don't know, a dozen of them or so there. Not one's good.
Mm.
This is incredibly actionable.
Can I ask a question about this? What does it mean? And then I was going to ask a secondary question, which is, I was going to try and self-diagnose why I think this is the case. But
I would love that second question. That'll actually tell us where to go. So when you look at things like blood work, these are secondary measures of physiology. They're trying to predict what we'll call an outcome. Meaning, in this case, we are looking at your heart health.
Okay.
There's an association, and I choose that word carefully, between cholesterol and cardiovascular disease.
Okay. High cholesterol, low cholesterol, good cholesterol, bad?
All of the above. Very traditionally, excessively high cholesterol is going to be associated with earlier heart disease, heart attack, could even manifest itself into strokes and things like that, right? So if we were to just like zoom all the way out and we say, all right, your cholesterol is extremely high, I'm concerned about your heart health. Mm. There's way more to the story, but at the top of it, that's where we're at.
So the second question I was going to ask is, at the time that I did these blood test results, I was frequently in a ketogenic diet.
I know. There's a lot to unpack here, and a lot of people are going to get mad online. Cholesterol has lifestyle, dietary, and familial causes. Oftentimes, you might have high cholesterol and all these various markers simply because that's a familial genetic inheritance, and there's not a lot of action behind it. When you see these things independent of obesity, now we have a different connotation. If I were to look at all this stuff and go, oh yeah, sure, you're 35% body fat, I know you drink alcohol, then I'm like, okay, this is true, but let's tackle those things first because those have so many robust implications on your health. That's the starting place. You don't drink alcohol excessively. I don't even know if you drink alcohol at all and haven't in years, I assume, right? You don't smoke. You don't like any of those. So all those things are checked off the list. This means this is actionable.
I should give you some context here. My uncle died of a heart attack and my dad had a heart operation last week.
Ooh.
So
do you remember what kind of heart operation?
He had a pacemaker put in. But he's been on statins, I think, for
to lower his cholesterol.
A long time. I think he's been on statins for about 15 years, if I was to guess, about 15, 20 years.
Yeah. So when I look at this, independent of your obesity, with your familial history, do you remember what advice you got when you got these results of what to do?
Do you know, I did two tests. I did this one with Function Health, who I believe are a sponsor, so I should say that. And I did the second one with Nico Health, where I'm a big investor in the company. They both said to me, like, Steve, stop eating steak all the time. Bacon, stop eating bacon all the time. The way that I heard it was, damn, this ketogenic diet you've been on, Steve, you need to just take it easy.
And have you done blood work since then?
No.
All right. First thing that would pop up, and this is the order I would do this in. When you get something like blood work, the value is not in the data. The value is in the interpretation. Mm-hmm. What they're talking about, why you heard that as steak, butter, bacon, is because those are food items high in saturated fat. Saturated fat is not evil. There are no evil foods. It's only evil context, right? So in your particular case, if we saw those, and we don't have this, but if we had your baseline before that test, and then we had this, and we went, okay, when you changed your diet and increased your saturated fat intake, and then we saw these numbers increase, most ethical people in this space would look at that and say, that's not a positive thing. That does not mean ketogenic diets are bad or unsafe. Not at all. It only means if we had those theoretical data, for you, it's probably not healthy. You stack that on top of the fact that you have your uncle and your dad in there, then I would triple down and go, talk to your doctor. I'm not your medical doctor, but I'd be really concerned about that. Then what I would do would be to go to the next step. Let's run the experiment and see. This is an indirect marker. And remember, what is it trying to predict? Your heart health. Have you had your heart scanned?
Yes, I have.
And?
They said that I had a thick wall.
Okay. Exercise-induced cardiac remodeling, especially if it's left ventricular, it's a good thing, right? So if your heart has 4 chambers, 2 on top, 2 on bottom. The 2 on the top are called atria, ventricles on the bottom. Oh, you got a great image there as well. Yeah, so you can look at this as a maze. Okay, so we'll use double modeling here. Can you see how the left ventricle is much larger than the right ventricle?
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason. The right ventricle only has to kick blood to your lungs.
Yeah.
Which are, physically
Quite close.
a few inches away. The left ventricle has to kick it up, out, through your entire body, down to the tip of your toes, all the way back up against gravity, and then back up into your heart.
Mm-hmm.
And so what you're seeing here is strength training. This is resistance exercise. Your left ventricle is lifting weights. It has to be bigger, it has to be stronger so that it can contract really hard and shoot all that blood up and down and up and out. If you said you had a thicker wall, either naturally or exercise-induced, just like when you lift with your biceps more, it's larger, the same thing is happening in the left ventricle. Incredibly common and healthy adaptation.
Okay.
What we would be concerned about is if there was any type of blockage or any type of plaque buildup.
One of the things that I remember them saying is again, I'm going to butcher this, but they told me there's kind of like two types of plaque build up in my veins or my arteries, whatever. And they said the bad type you haven't got. And they said, but the other type you have got. And I think they were referring to like the bad type as being like more sticky.
Yeah.
And it like doesn't go.
It'll dislodge.
Oh, okay. And that can cause a risk.
Yeah.
They said I didn't have the bad type, but I had this other type that is like temporary, but could turn into the bad type or something.
Yeah. One thing you want to be really careful of, and this happened to a dear friend of mine, Joel Jameson. Young, super fit, all the things. No stress, doesn't smoke, doesn't drink, much like you, all this stuff. Family history.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't think about it. Blood work came back totally fine. Still asked to get a CT angiogram, scan of his heart. His cardiologist said, no, you don't need it. You're young. You're all the thing. Got it anyways. And I think he had a 50% blockage of his what's called a widowmaker. You're flipping the dice whether you're going to die here, right? So this is a classic case to me where he's doing all the right things, but imaging saved his life. Let's not live in fear. Let's go look. You went and had it looked. I'll just trust your physicians. Great. Then I'm less worried about this because this could be a direct response to your ketogenic diet, which it almost certainly was. And if it's presenting no risk to the place we actually care about, then I'm less concerned about your cholesterol.
But if it carries on like this, could it create a risk?
Absolutely could.
Okay, because they all did tell me to fix this.
Yeah, just keep getting it scanned every few years. And if you see any buildup at all, then I would manage it.
Okay.
Now, in what you're seeing over here is that client of ours. And so as an example, I'll give you a specific number. His total cholesterol was 347. We got him down to 223.
What did you do?
Fiber.
Why fiber?
Stress reduction. Fiber, depending on the type of cholesterol, will actually bind to the cholesterol and clear it from the system. It will physically reduce it.
That's why one of the supplements I was told to take is a fiber supplement.
It's not always going to solve something, and I want to be really clear. If you have numbers like you had, you need to work with a doctor. Mm-hmm. And you need to get screened. Don't just be like, I took fiber, I'm fine. This guy said on a podcast. That's not what I'm saying. But it can be effective. The other thing we did was massive stress reduction. Guy was a very hard-charging CEO for a large company.
How is stress reduction going to impact my cholesterol?
Things like cholesterol can be what are called acute phase reactants, some parts of them, not all of them, meaning it responds to acute stress and stimuli. When you look at things like blood work, they aren't static. They're responding to the entire system. And so if you were to be stressed, and we'll not to blame everything on cortisol, but cortisol is elevated, you are in a heightened alert state. This causes short-term inflammation. In fact, if you look at, I think your inflammation was a little bit not so there. Oh, this guy as well. Probably like your most classic inflammation marker is called CRP. His was at 2, which is really high. We got him from 2 to 0.2, so a 10x reduction. That then allowed cholesterol to normalize. The easiest, most technical way to get to say it is it's an acute phase reactant, meaning it will change in response acutely to inflammation. Some markers will go up and some will go down in response to that, like vitamin D goes down.
If what? If you...
In a stressed environment. Some go up, some go down. Blood glucose goes up.
So you got your stress down, you got his fiber up.
And that took him from 347 to 223, which is still high. Went from 223 to 163. Now that took a statin.
Oh, so you did give him a statin?
We didn't, but his medical team did.
Okay.
And so why I want to draw this point out is we were able to go a long ways with lifestyle. but he wanted to go more. He wanted to be green, 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 green. So that's when medicine came in. And to me, this represents a great marriage of the two. Some people are very anti-medicine. Some people are, that's not my decision. That's up to you and your medical provider. But I think it's unfair to tell people things like all of it can be done with lifestyle and there's no need for medicines ever. Or the opposite of just like, oh, just take the drug. Don't worry about it. He needed all of it. He needed stress reduction. He needed some changes in his diet. And that made a huge change in his biological health. So if you were to be like, look, this is so complicated, this guy, like, how can I make actionable advice of all this stuff this guy's saying? I don't have a private doctor. And all. Cool. Just run the experiment. Try more fiber. Try to regulate your stress. If you want to go the opposite route and jump right onto the medical side, that's fine too. But it doesn't need to be super scary or super daunting because these are not like, especially if your heart has been scanned, I'm not concerned about an acute emergency.
The two things on here that I thought were shocking to me are my vitamin D levels and my omega levels, which I was told were deficient.
Yep.
I thought I was smashing it with those two because I think I was living in LA at the time. And
so your vitamin D was borderline low. Fairly traditionally, people of African heritage are going to be lower in that marker.
Okay.
You're at 37. Kind of lower end of that number is 40. That might actually be fine.
I think I heard you say something about vitamin D. Again, I don't want to butcher your words if this was what you said, but you kind of make the assumption that most people are deficient.
Yeah, it is true.
Why does it matter?
So vitamin D is a nice microcosm of overall health. So what I mean by that is you will tend to see people low in vitamin D who are also tending to make poor health choices. So it's a little bit like grip strength and all that, where it's kind of a one snap shot at saying, are you generally healthy or not? Why is it needed specifically? It is involved in every reaction from your brain to your gut, to your hormones, to your immune system, metabolism, and everything in between. It's critical to maintaining bone health. It's critical to being able to grow skeletal muscle. It's also clinically low in a high percentage of the population and even subclinically low in a vast majority of the population.
So should we be supplementing if we are low?
The real world will always win. Whole foods, sunlight, positive social environments, that's always the place to start. So do you want to supplement with it? That's up to you. I would much rather you get sunlight if possible. Now, enter everyone in the chat going, I live in the UK, there's no sun, sort of up here. Fine. If you want to choose a supplement because you live in those situations, then that's absolutely fine.
Or I work in an office for 12 hours a day. It's interesting because there is a bit of a paradox here we're all in search of very natural solutions in a very unnatural way of living. I had this conversation with my fiance a couple of weeks back about a few things where in one area of our life, we're trying to be really, really natural.
Yep.
But I'm like, babe, look at the rest of our lives. It's so unnatural. We get on planes and have these smartphones. And so almost forcing this one part to be natural is arguably going to cause a bit of a problem.
I mean, it happens to me, right? Like I'll put in the entire hours of the day and not even realize I didn't step outside.
Yeah.
It absolutely happens. So what I think you have to do is, number one, give yourself grace, right? Like you're not going to be perfect. I'm especially thinking about like single parents. It's just like you're not going to go out and spend 30 minutes in the sun.
Night shift workers.
Totally. Boy, that's a really hard thing. We've dealt with a lot of nurses and surgeons and things like that where you're on call, you're out. And that's when we can lean towards modern medicine, modern supplementation. It's why those things are not trash. They're not garbage. They're not fake. Our strategy typically is can we find one actionable thing? One thing that you're doing as a focus that is something you got to go out of your way and do. And that might be, you have to go outside today. That might be your one thing to pay attention to. When you start asking for more than 1 to 2 active things per week, you end up failing.
Okay, fine.
So with your omegas, so your omega score at 5 is low. Mm-hmm. You want that to be 8. But you probably didn't notice your mercury was right on the line of high as well. Those things will typically track. The more omega-3s you consume, the more mercury goes up.
Oh, really?
Because most omega-3 sources are going to be filled with mercury.
But I was low omega and high mercury.
So what that tells us is if you were to jack your omega-3s up, your mercury is going to get into the line that we don't want it to be in. So solution, you need to alter the source of your omega-3s. Get it from a higher quality place. So I'm not sure where you were getting them from there.
All over the place.
Yeah. But you would want to either choose your supplement more carefully or choose better quality foods.
What actually moves the needle on this subject of energy, which is what we're talking about here? Is there anything that is more consequential as it relates to these people that are trying to get more energy in their life? They feel lethargic. We talked about sleep as being a real foundation here.
If you're looking for more energy, I would divide everything into two buckets: hidden stressors and visible stressors. Visible stressors are things like you're not exercising. We know from excellent databases, physical exercise enhances energy.
Why and how?
Mitochondrial health is one of the many aspects of it.
You'll have more mitochondria if you exercise more.
Generally, not only will you have more, they'll be larger and they'll be healthier.
And mitochondria basically process your energy. So you get a bit more efficient at energy production.
They're one of the ways you can make it. You can make energy a lot of different ways. It is the end path of all aerobic exercise. So in other words, anytime you're using oxygen as a byproduct to make fuel, mitochondria have to be there. So it is central and core to that. But it is more than mitochondria. You'll have more total blood.
If you exercise?
Yes. It's one of the primary adaptations to endurance, is you'll physically have more blood in your body.
And that will mean?
You carry more oxygen.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You have more red blood cells. So you're able to carry more oxygen to fuel those mitochondria.
Is that a certain type of exercise that gives you more blood?
Generally, anything that demands blood flow will increase blood supply.
Cardiovascular exercise?
Can be anything.
Okay.
Stress equals adaptation. Meaning if you put a demand on your heart to pump more blood, it'll get better at pumping more blood. If you put a demand on bone to resist tension, it'll get better at resisting tension. You run the whole cascade of connective tissue to cellular health. It is simply, it's called the SAID principle, SAID, specific adaptation to imposed demand.
And also, is it fair to say then, if we take the word exercise out of the traditional definition, which is like in a gym doing a thing, and we broaden it to work or just, cognitive performance?
Remember, exercise is a novel made-up term. This is a new thing to us. Historically, humans have carried, have sprinted, have jumped, have climbed, have grappled, have done all those things. Putting that into a structured, non-daily activity is a last 75-year phenomenon, right? It wasn't actually until we started to realize that stress reduction to the end of the limit is a bad thing. And then we had to recreate stress into our lives. One form of that was, we call that exercise. So yes, if you think about exercise as either running, cycling, swimming, or lifting weights, you have left a bunch on the table. I don't care how you're challenging yourself, even if that structured exercise in your example is more vocationally based. It's the stress being provided to the system. And so when you start to look at things like what's the best exercise protocol for A, B, and C, one of the things you start to realize is all of them can have equal responses given a few constraints. And if they hit that constraint, they work. So if you have a movement practice, you skateboard, you play pickle, you walk, you garden, fine. All those can have equal clinical outcomes. Mortality, joint pain, body composition, because they're getting to the same spot.
Does this make sense then? So if I'm a podcaster and I want to have more energy to podcast, I should podcast more.
Yeah, you'll be more resilient to it, right?
Okay, so you could apply that to sort of any vocation or activity. If I want to have more energy to lift my kids up and run with them in the garden, then I should lift things and run with them.
Stress inoculation.
And then in the future, my body will adapt and it will give me more energy for that particular activity.
Yep.
So sometimes when people say they don't have energy for a thing, it's because they haven't challenged themselves in that particular activity enough to expand and adapt.
It's really difficult, right? So if walking up the stairs is a VO2 max test for you, how likely are you to walk upstairs?
Oh, okay. So it's like a downward spiral.
It's too difficult, right? So then what happens?
You don't do it.
And you get
less good at it.
Able to do it, right?
Yeah.
So when we start thinking about energy, and I started talking about like hidden visible stressors, right? I'm looking for constraints. Do you have an undiagnosed pathogen in your body? We have a Major League Baseball player, felt horrific. I'm talking like can't make it through a baseball game, legs are shot, no energy whatsoever. In his particular case, we were able to confirm in his blood, in his physical bedroom, and with a bunch of other tests for, actually you test his eyes and you test a bunch of other stuff. He had a very gnarly exposure to mold.
Oh, yeah.
All we had to do, in large part, was get that cleared and his energy came back. That's an example of a hidden stressor. But one of the things we're always looking for is, are you in energy toxicity? Meaning, are you eating too many calories? which is not the same as being obese, or are you in low energy availability? You're sleeping fine, but you're of low energy? Are you eating enough calories? Oh, you're not. Like, we have to go no further on this train. You are under-fueled for what you're asking. So there's things that are hidden stressors like that. There are visible stressors, which we just talked about, like you're not actually doing the thing. Another easy way to explain this is cognitively. If you want to write a book and you don't currently write, and you sit down to write, it's going to be exhausting. Mm-hmm. And then you talk to a writer and there's like, oh yeah, I need 45 minutes so I can crank out 1,000 words. Mm-hmm. It's like not exhausting at all, right? Stress inoculation. This is exactly what you said before. You can build up endurance in those things by them.
This is one of the things I've learned from this podcast and meeting all these exceptional people is this like use it or lose it principle.
Oh yeah.
You know, because I'm getting older and you start to feel the odd pain, you know, and so you start to like not use that part, you know, your back, for example.
Yeah.
Or bending down. And so you find ways to not bend down properly so you can avoid the pain. And what's happening there is because something is difficult, you do it less, which then means it becomes more difficult, so you do it less. And it's this downward feedback loop to decline.
Atrophy leads to atrophy.
Yeah, and like, you know, I think the critical idea that got in my head a couple of years ago from someone I was interviewing on the podcast was that aging isn't always the excuse. And I think we assume it's just aging, so we accept it and we don't fight back.
No.
When I sat here with one of the exceptional PhDs that I interviewed, she showed me, I think it was a DEXA scan of a 70-year-old who was like a pentathlete, and then a DEXA scan of someone that was like 30 years old. And the 70-year-old was just phenomenal.
Yeah.
Their sort of bone, their muscle, etc. And she basically proved to me, I'll put up the scan on the screen. It really is a mind-blowing scan. I've actually sent it to my best friends because it really did. I couldn't get this idea out of my head that actually don't accept everything as an aging problem, because the minute you do, you go on this downward cycle. And it blew my mind. And that was such an important idea to get in my head at my age, at 30 years old. So when I feel like a pain in my back, my solution isn't, oh, okay, Stephen, you're getting older, stop bending down and protect the pain. It is go to the gym and start squatting and bending, etc.
There are some things that will go down with age. Sleep is actually one of them. We typically just see you will sleep a little bit less as you age. Fine. There are some aspects of that, but I think you can resist and fight as much of that as possible. This is actually, you're seeing a turning of the tide right now that's just starting to emerge with longevity. Longevity is currently being positioned as this anti-aging phenomenon, and people are already bored. It's like, is your goal to just not age? Or is your goal to dunk a basketball at 70? Do you want to have the 4x4 truck that has the best off-road package ever and it stays in your garage? Probably not, right? Like, you want to be able to be like, no, you want to live because you want to experience life.
If you love the Diary of a CEO brand and you watch this channel, please do me a huge favor. Become part of the 15% of the viewers on this channel that have hit the subscribe button. It helps us tremendously, and the bigger the channel gets, the bigger the guests.